this space has evolved with interest both from the VCs and the entrepreneurs?
Let me put it like this, in a practical way. So if we look at impact investment, it can have different origins, different verticals. But in essence, what the goal is, it's improving social environment for every individual, wherever that may be. And there are different ways. Myself, I'm focused more on bringing a dream. We figured out some time ago, and we did some deep research. I have some new statistic data today, that more or less 20%, a little bit more, of individuals on a global scale, they have a dream, which is having their own freedom of choice and also becoming financially independent. And this is essentially the case for the millennial and the I generation, but also a little bit for the X generation. So the problem is that they are not able to fulfill that dream because the society in which we live, unfortunately, doesn't bring the right conditions for them to be able to make it. And the main reason is that they lack of funds. They don't come normally from families that's, from the higher class. It's essentially mid-class and lower class of the populations, or less favored. And on the other hand, they also have this issue that the majority lacks of knowledge, or let's say the first venture that they engage with. Now, the statistic that I got this morning on my table was very interesting. And it shows that today, what I didn't expect, to be honest, today, although the US has the best ecosystem among all the countries for venture, they don't have the most entrepreneurial people. So in fact, the most entrepreneurial people that kick off a company for the first time, the percentage compared to the population is the highest in the Middle East and in Africa and Asia. And definitely not anymore in the US and in Europe. And probably that's the reason, because both of these regions have very high mid-class percentages, typically over 30%. And also, definitely the US is the richest country of, let's say, individuals with higher class or even ultra wealth compared to all the other countries in the world. So in essence, people that today have a job in Europe or in the US, they have less need or less dream to become an entrepreneur. And in fact, only 1 in 20% only of the 100 wants to kick off or think about kicking a business. And comparable to Africa, that's about 80 to 90%. So it's a huge difference, right? But so the way I look at it is that the impact definitely is going to be higher in the African continent, in the Middle East, parts of Asia, and definitely also in South America, and less in the US and in Europe. So maybe I can give some more data further on, so to give everybody else also an opportunity.
Yeah, very interesting data point, less in the US. Bon, I would like to ask you next. I mean, obviously Singapore is very developed as well. So what's your thoughts about impact investment in the region? Where is the money going into, and where is the startup space out of?
Well, before I start saying that, I think the key thing to know is that in an investing world, we do know this term called TINA. There is no alternative. This is really the year where we have to become impact investors, all of us. Impact is going to affect all asset classes. It's not an industry on its own. It's not an asset class on its own. It's going to affect public equities, public markets, to private equity and venture capital, as we are seeing today. Because we are seeing that both entrepreneurs and investors are demanding that they're going to have a stake in forging a better future. So we do see the trends accelerating in terms of innovation ideas and businesses and companies starting up in all kinds of areas, from supporting climate change to energy, to regenerative farming, agriculture, even to certain aspects, like in Singapore, where we think this may not be applicable to us, but then we then see a lot of those vertical farming, alternative proteins coming out, because we want to be responsible for the consumer products, to being very careful and very transparent, and promoting disclosure on how we not just measure ourselves as a company, but how do we deliver our purpose. So that is something that we're seeing very strongly. So I would say that the two key trends is more transparency is going to come up, so that demand better tools and research to promote those disclosure and measurements of impact and risk and returns. But at the same time, you're going to see a lot more exciting innovations and startups, uprooting from this part of the world.
Great points, Vaughn. Thank you so much for sharing those opening remarks. Next, I have Karthik. Over to you, Karthik.
So I have a slightly different take on this, and I look at the statistics differently. Out of the 2.5 billion kids on this planet, not more than 1.7 billion kids have access to education. And still, 1/5 of the world sleeps hungry. 8% of the ocean life dies because of oil spillage every year. While we've been seeing a lot of investments coming in multiplier in terms of developing technology that impacts and improves the life of a select few at the top of the pyramid, the bottom of the pyramid more often than has been left untouched, and which is where the real multiplier actually comes in. To give you a perspective, I see a lot of, and one of the startups that we've invested is in the edutech space. I spoke to you, Sonia, about it last time. $2 an hour education has helped us reach out to 27 million kids in certain parts of the world who wouldn't have been able to afford education. Telemedicine that picked up momentum as a offshoot of the pandemic has probably now reached out to 6 countries in Africa, which typically have one doctor per 470,000 people across, against the United States, which has one doctor for every 12,000 people. So that's a kind of multiplier that impact investment brings. I would look at it from two ways. One is improving the life in terms of green tech, farm tech, which is accelerator. But from a very basic necessities point of life, one needs to also understand that while we create supercomputers and we send human beings to space, we also all have 1/3 of the world which sleeps hungry every day. And this is a chance, this is an opportunity. And one of the family offices that I represent has 620 million pounds worth of assets. So they do not see multipliers coming in, but they see a very large investment in social causes in certain part of the world. So adopting villages and improving farming lifestyle, adopting villages and improving education, adopting villages and bringing social reforms in certain part of the world is where a lot of investments is going in at a very grassroots level. And that's where I see the beauty of impact investment coming in. And that's what we all stand for today.
So except family offices, do you think, just a quick one, VCs are also getting much more interested into impact?
So I would divide it into two ways. There would be two kinds of VCs, and I represent both sides of the story. So I wouldn't be partial to either one of them. But there's a class which continuously talks about multiplier and wants to focus on certain parts of the masstige and the premium segment of life, which is trying to create supercomputers or human-less cars or maybe drones. But there's also a class of VCs, which is typically like the lawyers and doctors, want to go a significant amount of pro bono in the market, which is not just about trying to create money, but also about building a reach. And what I've noticed is the moment you build in a reach and the moment you go to certain sectors, for example, I take a $2 education to certain parts of the world, my multiplier and my repeat business from there is going to be significantly more than the business that I would get from a $10 an hour, because there are multiple suppliers in the $10 an hour market, but I'm the only one in the $2 an hour market. So the guy at the bottom of the pyramid doesn't have too many options to select from. So from a commercial point of view as well, I benefit. And from a social point of view, it creates a massive impact. And such social benefits and such pro bonos drive a lot of dollars into the market. When there is one guy doing pro bono, there are multiple suppliers of dollars behind who want to follow. So it has a domino effect.
Great points. You mentioned lawyers and doctors and the pro bono aspect of impact investing. Very great points. Thank you, Karthik, for sharing those insights. Next, I have Stanley.
I find it quite interesting that I have to go after Karthik, because I fully agree with exactly what he's talking about. Because one of the things that we got to look at, that in the first word, we're looking at transitional. where we're looking at start operating in a more sustainable manner. But then, of course, in the developing world is where the market opportunity is, like looking at basic necessities. And I think for me, this is the greatest opportunities for VCs and entrepreneurs. Because if you look at the transitional part of it, established businesses are not suddenly going to change their operations to impact. Established businesses are going to look at new innovations that are coming up from entrepreneurs, which actually align to their operations, and then they'll look to actually buy them over. So it creates a good opportunity for entrepreneurs. And I mean, if you look at VC, I mean, for VCs, they are looking at the multiplier effect. And I mean, you know, investing in a new innovation that will enable you to actually have a multiple much higher in the later stage. So when we look at impact investment and responsible investment, I think this is an opportunity for VCs and entrepreneurs due to the lack of, if I can say, due to the rigidness of established businesses and the lack of basic necessities in the developing world. So I think there's great opportunity for the two parties in the segment.
Interesting. Two parties, investors and entrepreneurs. Thank you so much, Stanley, for those insights. Next up, we have Gary. Hi, Gary. Your opening remarks, please.
Yeah. So, you know, it's an interesting time. One of the companies that I was involved, the startup, was a long-range weather forecasting model with a former professor out of Princeton University. And he was 80 some years old when I met him. He actually was one of Einstein's students. So I've had a unique 8 months I got a chance to work with him using long-range weather forecasting as a nonlinear model. Anyhow, so let's just talk about where we are and let's talk about where we're going. So look at today. In the last 100 years, the population of the world has increased 4 times. We're at 8.1 billion. It's forecasted by the end of the century, there'll be a little over 13 billion people on the planet. So our resources are going to be constrained. At the same time, when we looked at the analysis for the weather forecasting company, from 1880 to the present, the average temperatures have gone up about 2 degrees Fahrenheit. But the challenge is over the next 100 years, it's forecasted to go up to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, 10 degrees. What does that mean for each and every one of us? It means that the average sea level, and I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania. I just keep it simple. You know what I mean? I'm not a Harvard grad or Stanford grad. Or Oxford. I'm just a normal guy. So the average sea level that's looked at could be up as high as 8 feet, right? If you look at Florida, sea level in Florida is about 26 inches. It's forecasted in Florida that the impact could be up to 29. So, you know, as a country boy, we're going to be underwater. We got some challenges. What does it mean? It means we're going to have increased storms. The storms, the impact of the super hurricanes, the Gulf Stream slowing down. What does that mean today? I remember Dr. Crick telling me, he said, Gary, when it snows in the UK, we have some problems. It's been snowing in the UK. So, you know, the good news is during this pandemic, it's the first time that we've been able to see the Himalayas from India for the last 30 years. So we understand that the planet has a chance to heal itself. At the same time, the amount of non-potable water is increased, the drinking water, the availability of it. So we've got to use the technologies. I'm in artificial intelligence and quantum computing. We got to use those technologies to be able to help us guide. At the same time, you know, we've got to impact society. As I told you, we fully support the Black community and female entrepreneurs, but we got to look beyond. We got to look at the stars, seriously look at the stars, right? So it's a great opportunity for each and every one of us, but at the same time, it's not that we can just try to do it. We must do it if we want to survive.
Excellent points, Gary. Climate change definitely has a big impact on all of us. And we've seen that through COVID-19. Great. Thank you so much for all your opening remarks. Today, we have a startup from Africa. The founder is Kasali Oluwatobi. He has his startup to share with his pitching to all the investors today. Kasali, welcome to VCTV. This is your first time. Please help introduce yourself. Then I pass the floor to my co-moderator, Amit, who is going to moderate the pitching session. Thank you.
Hi, Sonny. Hi, everyone. My name is Kasali Oluwatobi. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Eden. Over the years, I've worked with fintech companies. I've worked with top marketing and creative marketing agencies. I've also dabbled in a whole lot of things, basically, to help me increase my knowledge in not just the religious industry, but also in various industries that are going to enable me to be able to be a successful CEO. Yes, one of the things that basically made me to start up my company was the fact that there was a whole lot of things I could do as a tech enthusiast, and basically find a way to revolutionize the industry by creating simple and valuable solutions that was going to be that was basically going to be adopted in the same industry. Yes.
Amit, over to you, please.
That was great insights by all of the panel members. Thank you for that. Thank you for the opening remarks and the insights about impact investment. Before we move forward for the pitching session, I would like to give a short message to all of the startups and founders. So if you are a startup looking for fundraising or getting insights or getting feedback from the investors, you can always come on to VCTV and you can face the investors, because this is the fastest way to get a complete list of objections that is required to reach your visions. You can take it in a constructive manner where you can always get the feedback from the investors, our network of investors, and get and work on them. And if things go well, who knows, funding is just around the corner. So before any further ado, let's welcome Kasali, and he's going to pitch his startup. Kasali, over to you. Do you have a presentation to show, or should I share my screen?
No, I'll share my screen. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Good afternoon. I don't know if it's afternoon over there, but it's afternoon over here. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kasali Oluwatobi, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Eden. I'll be taking you on a journey into the future of Christianity, but before I do that, I would love to introduce to you Wale. Wale is a 30-year-old single and God-fearing guy. He loves to network and explore new things. He works as a church administrator in his church and attends church a minimum of 3 times in a week. He doesn't play with his tithe, neither does he play with his offering. Unfortunately, Wale is faced with a challenge, and that challenge is the pandemic. The pandemic has caused a poor connection between Wale and his church, thereby allowing the church to struggle in connecting with their members, causing them to not lose members, but also their funds gradually. Fortunately for them, there's a solution to solve this, Eden. And me personally, I love to see Eden as the Holy Grail, because it's a Christian community platform that connects Christians in multiple churches and services on the go. It's a mobile and web-facing product that churches simply need to register on the web for them to be able to become visible on the mobile and join their members and stay connected 24/7. Just imagine a Facebook for Christians. It's easy, it's fast, and it's reliable. But the question is, how big is the market? A research in 2016 showed that the religious industry contributed over $1.2 trillion to the societal and economical growth of the United States. And these funds were originated from religious congregations via tithe and offerings. Now, that's how much of the value religion brings to the table. Then if you look at the world population, there are over 2 billion Christians in the world. And looking down straight to Africa, we top as the most religious continent in the world, with over 631 million Christians attending church at least once to 2 times in a week. And in Nigeria, over 87 million Christians for us to be able to target and convert. But how do we capture this market? We're going to be starting off with a sales team to recruit church parishes and members, where we also run online and marketing ads for promotions. We'll be securing partnerships with top religious establishments and run in-app referrals and for pastors and churches, while we also run integrated campaigns for product virality. Looking at the competitive landscape, we are by far the best, and I mean by far the best. We don't just offer a free-to-use service, we also offer a tailored, a self-customizable, engaging, and easy to use and set up service. And our service, yes, also promotes a social community. These features, these factors that we check off is basically enabling us to easily capture the market and grow exponentially over the years. Our launch plan is already set. We intend to go live with 5 churches in February, and we intend to launch in April with 100 churches. But the question is, how do we make money from our business? We'll be making money on the mobile end and on the web end through commissions from payments that's been done on the platform. We'll be charging a subscription fee for also additional church profiles that the members on the mobile app will need to add on the mobile app, because our research showed that people in church, most Christians don't just attend one church, they have a minimum of 2 churches. They may like praise and worship from a church and like a prayer from another church. So we built our solution to be able to allow the member to manage 2 churches or 3 churches at their own will. We'll also be making commissions from SMS units purchased, where they'll be able to send SMS and emails to their members on a 24-hour basis, and we'll be able to mark up from there. And also in the future, run monetize from adverts as our future revenue model. Our ask is very simple. We need 5 investments to be able to pay salaries, run our operations of our class services as well, buy SMS credits, and also for our agents and also on our online promotions, so that we'll be able to make a 1-year projection of $1.2 million in revenue. Our 5-year goal is to own the Nigerian market and expand into foreign markets, where we acquire over 100,000 churches on the web and over 10 million members on the mobile app. So we'll be able to process a minimum of $100 million in monthly value transactions. We promise our clients a better Christian life and journey, while for our partners, a partner experience in creating wealth and prosperity through the religious financial ecosystem. The team, this is very, very, very crucial in our business. We like to see this as the God's chosen team. I, for one, as the founder and as the CEO and co-founder of Eden, have over 10 years of experience in the industry, over 5 years of experience in business and marketing, and my CTO and technical lead have over 6 years of experience in building tech solutions that are also relevant in recent times. My engineers and my business developers are by far the best in helping me to be able to put my product in the market and grow exponentially. My advisors also, Reverend Yomi Kasali, is also my uncle, is a general overseer in one of the biggest religious institutions in Nigeria and outside of Nigeria. And Maxwell Obi and Shegun Adeyemi are also fintech experts with over 6 years of experience in the fintech space. They also recently exited that company with a good amount of exits. Our vision is to preserve and nurture Christians into paradise. But the question is, how do we do that? I would love to show you a video of how we built our product to be able to nurture the Christian life into paradise. Let me play this. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, I didn't know what. Okay. So can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we built the product to be able to encapsulate the current and existing operations that every church would be operating, and they're facing the challenge in executing due to the pandemic. So this product is going to offer those services and more in the future run. So this is Eden, and we're happy to take you on a journey into revolutionizing the Christian community. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kasali, for this great idea. This seems to be one of a kind idea where you are taking a religious social community as a startup idea, and you are trying to operationalize the churches and connect them with their members. So before we take part in this discussion further, let's hear from each of our panel members. What do they think about your idea, and what are their remarks? Let's start from Anuj. Anuj, over to you.
Amit. So I mean, first of all, let me start by saying I love the idea. Uh, do I get some bonus points from the guy upstairs for saying that? I'm
Yeah.
hoping I do. But
Good
yeah,
wishes to you.
going through the presentation and I'm gonna play the devil's advocate here, pun intended, of course. I like the concept, and here's the thing: this is not a new concept that's being brought up. This is not something unique that's coming to the market. It's a next step in televangelism. Uh, televangelism preachers that have come online and have connected with a wider audience has been there for a while, but uh, it hasn't evolved into that next step in a long time now. They're still stuck on coming up on TV, which is great because it's generating great numbers. Uh, they still take donations via telephone. So bringing it onto an app, bringing this onto the internet, definitely the next logical step. But here's where my thought is going in, and some things that concern me. Uh, Number one, when you're talking about a religious organization, you are talking about a very mature audience, someone who's mostly over the age of 40 or 50, and they mostly do not have a great experience or a very good comfort level when it comes to technology. So for them, coming onto an app or trying to convince them to connect to an app so that they can be connected with a church, that's going to be a challenging thing. It's easy to convince an app. It's a different story to send a sales team to a church and say, hey, why don't you guys use our app? This is what you can do. This is how you can connect further. It's a whole different ball games to get those coming to the church to come on that app. Second thing that comes to my mind is the donation that's usually made to a religious organization compared to other kind of donations that you're usually doing on probably some other platforms. You donate to a religious organization more frequently, but since you're doing it more frequently, the ticket size is really low. So somewhere around $1 to $5. And for that kind of a transaction to happen online, the fees might still be very high. So if in India, I'm going online and I'm using a payment gateway to make that $1 transaction every time, I would still have to pay a lot in that payment gateway fees. So that creates a problem for me. And in turn, that creates a problem for the church as well, because if they are getting those small donations, even though in multiple frequencies, but still the ticket size being small is taking out that major chunk, they lose out on the money. So those are the two factors that I think you have to pay more attention to. I think those remain the big loopholes. But otherwise, like I said, I love the idea. I think it's the next step. I'm surprised no one has thought about this till date. But good luck, mate. Really, really curious to see how it goes further.
Yeah, thank you very. Can I answer that? Can I answer that?
Sure, go ahead, please.
Okay, so I understood, and I've done serious research on this product, and if you date back to the years of 2010, 2011, 2012, a lot of churches didn't see the need for them to pay attention to technological innovation. This was because the same reason that you just stated. People didn't really have the experience and the knowledge of having to navigate through an app. But with the pandemic, they were forced to adopt technological solutions so that they can increase their productivity and stay relevant. Now, in recent times, a whole lot of churches they've started adopting the likes of Zoom, the likes of Mixler, the likes of even third-party payment applications, over 3 to 4 applications, so that they can keep running their services and stay relevant to their members and don't lose their members. Now, that serious awakening has given us an opportunity for us to be able to tap into the market. And with respect to download, our strategy is very simple. We're going to be talking directly to the churches so that they can onboard their members. We understood the fact that the churches have the churches are like the religious leaders, especially the pastors. Once they say the members should do something, the members will follow suit. So our strategy is to recruit and partner with top church brands so that we can run the religious leaders to be able to promote our product and get the members on it. And offering a tailored service is just the way, because they don't just have to stream, like you said, that they've been streaming over the period of time to reach a wider audience. They can also run the Bible sermons, run the new converts. We even receive new members online, which is something that's not been done ever. So they can receive new members online. They can also even give their life to Christ and automatically assign the data to multiple workers for them to follow up easily based on some specific algorithms. So a whole lot of thought process has been done into this so that we can be able to easily capture the market, grow, and at the same time provide a valuable product. And with respect to the payment that you said, why would you want to make a payment of $1 to $2 or $3 on a platform? We understood that fact and we went ahead to partner with a payment processing company and agreed on a minimal charge rate, which will definitely be shared between both parties. And we understood also the fact that churches, there's something called an offering, which is done on a weekly basis, and there's something called a tithe, which is done on a monthly basis. The tithe is within the average of, if you look at the minimum salary in Nigeria, which is about 30 to 35,000, is about 10% of your wages on a monthly basis. So on an average, you'll be paying as much as 5,000 naira to 10,000 naira upward on a monthly basis on our platform, which gives us the ability to be able to maximize our profit margins or revenue from every payment transaction that's being done on the platform.
Sally, sorry to interrupt. Can we please stop the share so that everybody gets to interact face to face? They've got the copies of your pitch deck. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
All right, Kasali, you answered every question Anuj has asked. Great for that. Next, move on to Jose about his thoughts and opening remarks. Please, Jose, over to you.
In essence, I like it. I think maybe I have a privileged position because I know one of the church leaders. So because Christianity has this issue that it has probably like 1 billion in private churches and 1 billion in the Catholic Church and Orthodox. So I know personally one private church that has about 200 million followers, including in Africa. And he has access to a group of private churches. They come together once a year, and together probably they may even reach close to 1 billion. So my concern here is if they will adopt this, and if this is not easy to copy, because they have their own TV stations, their own radio stations, they have their own setup. So I feel it's quite easy for them to copy the model that you have today, unless you are willing to sell them the technology. And that's the concern they have. They have normally also their own developers and marketing strategy. So there's something for you to think about. On the overall, I like the presentation very much. I had the opportunity to go through your presentation yesterday, so I don't have many questions. It's quite straightforward. I think it's a good storytelling. I would have a huge amount of financial and KPI questions, but we can do that on a one-to-one.
Great. So any other questions from any other speaker here for Kasali?
Yep, I have a few. So Kasali, this is a religion from being a way of life to a matter of convenience, has different forms and different ways and different permutations in one's life. But more often than not, it's a habit. How are you going to change habits of people from social congregations and social gatherings onto an online space? That's one. Second, aggregator model of any nature works on two bases. Both parties need to draw either commercial or social or some benefit out of it for it to succeed. What's in it for church to succeed and be continuously involved with this association apart from the revenue stream on donations? And B, C, more importantly, massive technology interface at multiple levels. How are you going to make sure food delivery and e-commerce delivery players in certain parts of Africa have failed miserably because of the technology congregation not coming through, especially in the food space? So how do you try, how would you want to bridge all the three? And the last question is, how are you going to make sure that people stay interested and your competition doesn't come up with something innovative? And what's your plan for next 3 to 4 years in terms of laying innovative milestones for the business? That's about it.
Sorry, my network went a bit it's cracked a bit, so I didn't get some of your questions. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would
Yeah,
repeat some of them. Religion is a very habit-based functionality in different people's life. It means different things to different people. How are you going to change habits? It's a social congregation for some. It's a social gathering for some. It's a way of interacting and bringing a family together for some. How are you going to make sure that that is replicated in your e-world? That's one. Second, how are you going to keep the church interested? In an aggregator model, both the parties need to be interested on some or the other way for them to benefit. And C, what is going to stop competition from replicating your model and adding more features? So do you have a roadmap for next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months in terms of what is it that you're going to add to the business to keep it flourishing?
Yes, thank you very much. So with respect to the change habit question, so I've had this idea for over 3 years, but I just kept fleshing it up. The change habit was a very big obstacle when I had the idea, because a large percentage of Christians prefer to go to church as opposed to having it on the mobile app. But currently, right now, the pandemic just opened up a whole lot of business opportunities. Right now, if I can tell you, we are currently worshiping from home over the past close to a year plus now, the majority of our services, I work in the media department in my church, and most of our services, we get to do it on Zoom and we get to do it on YouTube, which is now making us adjust to the online community for service. To keep the church glued to our product, based on our partnerships, we're also going to run social responsibility packages and social responsibility services to our churches by also building schools. Once we have the level of funds, we'll be able to expand, building schools, basically social responsibility services to the churches as a give back to the community. And also we'll be running a lot of engaging features and products in our solution, because the religion or Christianity cuts far and deeper more than just online streaming and payments. It's more of, like, I'll give you for instance now, you can share your testimonies on our platform. You can receive new members. You can give your life to Christ. You can automatically match a new convert with a worker, so it can remotely follow up with that person and give updates to your pastor. Even we built the system in the way whereby we understood that there's some parishes that have sub-parishes, and they have sub-parishes, and they have sub-parishes, and they're like a big conglomerate. So what we did was that we built the web platform so that they can be able to create a network of communication. So each sub-branch can directly communicate with the members in below sub-branch, and the ones in the lower sub-branch can communicate to the members in lower sub-branch just by clicking of a system. So, which is why I said it's a very big solution. And for our product roadmap, we have lines of services that we're looking to push out in the next few months after we push out our initial products in February. We have the very first product feature that we're going to be releasing, which is the room, which is basically go to knock out Zoom as an option in our market. Because right now, what they're doing is, for you don't want to have prayer sessions, they want to have praise sessions, they want to have meetings, and they also want to have house fellowship sessions. They make use of Zoom as the only alternative. So once we incorporate that service into our own platform, it becomes an all-compassing solution whereby we're able to promote to the users. Now, for the roadmap, we have everything lined up, and for part of our expansion, once we own the Nigerian market, we'll be able to look at expansion into the American markets, because we understood that a lot of the religious bodies, in terms of brands, have been able to expand not just in Nigeria and Africa, but also to the United States by opening branches worldwide. So those are part of our roadmap in terms of product expansion and product building.
Very kind of
Excellent.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karthik, for those questions. Kasali, thank you so much for that presentation. Really nicely, excellently done. Any questions for Kasali? Any further questions? We can take this offline. And yes, because I'm just conscious of the time, this is a Friday. We'd like to just focus on the topic a bit. Thank you so much, Kasali. Vaughn, I would like to ask you a question regarding the recent investments that you've made in this certain kind of space, like which brings an impact to the society. Thank you.
Okay. So for me, I think last year, some of our vintage portfolio would include edutech and also in health tech. It has been accelerated because, everybody was working and learning from home. But what the main thing that is done for the delivering the benefits for the society is that because of the remote work and the remote training platform that our startup was able to support, we were able to train 2,000 people that have lost their jobs, and they upscale them into becoming software engineers. So I think when we for VCs is very gratifying, because we know that we're delivering a real benefit that is also achieving a UN SDG goal in providing a decent work, promoting the economic growth. At the same time, you're actually giving people some hope, right? During the pandemic, able to capture decent income during this time where it hits the working poor the hardest. So those are the kind of opportunities we'd love to see more this coming year.
Oh yes, upskilling, definitely. With the way we are working, we are learning, it's all online. It's changed the total format of education.
The main data point is that 40% of the people who lost their jobs will then need reskilling, and the ones that remain in their job, 50% of them need upskilling.
Absolutely.
So the education and work tech space will continue to be accelerated, and then they obviously, this is going to be a year of continued mask wearing and all that. So one of the health tech startup that we supported was called Respiratory. It happened to be in a time where it's supporting the hospitals in predicting who might be at the highest risk in getting cardiorespiratory diseases, and that really reduced, the hospitalization rate and actually reduced the workload on the healthcare system as well. So those are the kind of solutions and innovation we'll love to continue to support.
Just a quick question, one of the speakers. So what stage do you invest, Vaughn?
I invest in seed to pre-series A. My goal is to really be purposeful about this. I know where I can add value and where I can't. So I would like to be in a place where I can share the same mission and purpose with the founders and the founding team. And then we can drive some of the technological or financial capital or HR capital into the startup, and to help them to get to Series A and beyond. And I'm happy to say one of our startup is already onto Series B, and another one has been built by a magazine to be the next $1 billion startup. So, I think what we really want to achieve is to really add value and support our founders and to find their unique paths to success.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Vaughn, for sharing that. Gary, over to you. So what were the recent investments that actually, where did the VCs invest in 2020 in the space?
Yeah, so, in terms of where we are, I have passion. There's a untapped opportunity with the elderly community, and we don't, especially in the US and Europe, there's a challenge because we've got this aging population, but we're not taking care of them in the right way. So I actually have one of my companies from Stanford University is focused on that. All the artificial intelligence that we have, all the AI companies we have are, I would say, have impact. So one of them is impact in terms of training. But I mean, think about where we are with this digital transformation. Here we are in VCTV, spread around the world. I mean, it's incredible who I'm talking to, whether they're scientists at the top universities around the world, quantum computing experts from, Oxford. It's just incredible. So we are spreading the word out. And I think that in terms of my own personal investments, space, I just made a interesting investment in space 2 days ago with some incredibly well-known people that I can't talk about. But so it's across the board. And as I said, I support the Black community. One of the members of the NAACP, if you know what the NAACP is, on our board, which is, is really guiding us. And one of the Black actors works with me on projects in our urban community. I mean, the key is, how can we create jobs? How can we create opportunities for people so we can work together? When I went to Russia in 1992, people say, "Oh, why are you going to Russia? It's bad." And then I started going over. I learned Russian. I studied at a Russian university. I started the first startup academy, the first accelerator. "Oh, it can't be done. You're American. Are you a CIA agent?" I mean, I heard all kinds of things. It was unbelievable. But then as we started to work together and people started creating very large companies and they came out of my programs and we started investing, everything started to change. So part of this is you learn to work together for a common goal. So I think I encourage, I like the idea of the application for the churches because it makes me feel good. I don't know what to say. Just if it was a mosque, it would make me feel good too, or a synagogue. So, I mean, it's like, or whatever, right? It just makes me feel good because there's something good about it.
Absolutely.
So, so, I mean, but we're implying we have a lot of challenges with all the, around the planet, whatever it is, whether it's carbon emissions, going to space, equalizing opportunity, and artificial intelligence has a key to many of those situations. So that's where we're focused, and we're focused on quantum computing.
Great. Thank you, Gary. Obviously, anything that touches heart and touches for a cause is definitely worth considering. Thank you so much. Jose, over to you with your recent investments and closing remarks, please.
So I've been investing in the last 5 years, essentially in, I can even say exclusively in technology, and especially everything which is related to the topic of business inclusion. The reason, because everybody know, every investor has a criteria in which he likes to invest in, and also he probably has good knowledge about that topic. And also it has a huge impact on society. Also, it doesn't make any difference if you are old or young or whatever color you have or religion. So business inclusion touches everybody. Essentially, more or less like 60% of population nowadays that could fit into that criteria, but 20% have that dream, and 20% is a lot. It's about 1.5 billion people, so it's not to underestimate. My closing thoughts goes in something which was touched here today, which is that we have 430 million permanent unemployed people all over the globe, and definitely that will grow in the next years up to 1 billion. And my question is, what are we going to do, or what are we going to provide to all these individuals? Because so far we have created a society which is labor focused and not business focused. And I would like to see a shift as a solution for a huge amount of individuals that are unemployed into the business area, instead of getting them back to a job, because those jobs probably are not going to get back.
Absolutely. Let's create more entrepreneurs and founders in the impact space. Thank you so much, Jose. Stanley, over to you, please, with your recent investments and closing remarks for the show and for the week and the topic. Stanley, over to you. You there?
Yes, I am actually. I think our recent investment really looked at technology as an enabler. I mean, like, you know, everybody said, like, I mean, a lot of SMEs are actually struggling to actually find their marketplace. So currently we're looking at an investment that actually transitions, invest.
Okay, we've lost Stanley.
Be able to have, sorry, I'm back.
Yeah, sorry,
yeah,
for a fraction of a second. Yeah.
Now, of course, we've actually invested in a company that translates investments in e-wallets and provides working capital to SMEs. And of course, right now, there's a lot of pressure on the energy provision due to the fact that everybody's also working from home. So we're actually doing a big renewable energy transaction in order to build new renewable energy microgrids. So I think thank you very, very much again for such an insightful show, and thanks to everybody on the panel and the entrepreneur. I think, you know, this is a great show and we hope to actually continue going forward. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Stanley. Karthik, over to you, please.
Thank you. My closing remarks. I think there's a lot that can be done in this space. A lot of businesses are coming forward. One of the interesting investments that we are working with a maritime board of a particular country in South Asia is to work on a chemical-based oil spill technology that takes care of oil spills in anything less than 24 hours. Our objective is to save the 600 to 700 million fish and ocean life that gets destroyed every time there's an oil spill in those coasts. That's one of them. The second one's the telemedicine that I spoke about that we've invested. I see a lot of edutech projects coming in specifically in this space, which are primarily focusing on impact investing. More importantly, I think more and more as the investors are getting cognizant of the fact that along with multipliers, there's also a larger portion of the society that needs to be taken care. And more importantly, sustainable life needs to be maintained and built. It's only going to grow and get better from here. Thank you so much for hosting us. And Kasali, that was an amazing pitch. You did a great job, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Based on the feedback from our investors, Karthik, Gary, Vaughn, Stanley, Jose, we brought Kasali over to VCTV to share his startup. So any feedback from any other feedback, any additional comment about VCTV that you would like to see in future, anyone from here?
Sorry, my network went out. I didn't hear you.
Oh no, so basically, Kasali, fantastic job. I just wondering, you know, because of the feedback that we got from the investors, we are getting more startups and founders onto VCTV to pitch their ideas. So beyond that, is anything else from the speakers today you would like to share? Vaughn, anything from you? Any closing remarks for today's show and future VCTV shows? Anything from you?
I think one I appreciate about VCTV is really promoting more transparency into the world of venture capital, you know, and more collaboration. Now that I know my partners around the world, I can get in touch with an expert, with a fellow co-investor who believe in the same mission and purpose as I do. Dubai, I can go to Karthik. Gary is in US or maybe in all around the world, you know, my AI expert. So, you know, so I can always count on VCTV to connect, but also to build more collaboration partnerships. I think that's really what you want to do, is to deliver multiplier effects around the world where everybody can enjoy the benefits for the society, but also to achieve financial returns.
Great closing remarks, Vaughn. Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate your time. All the speakers, Gary, Karthik, Stanley, Kasali, for sharing such a great idea to all our speakers and investors, Jose and Vaughn. So that brings us to the end of the session today. Any questions, anybody would like to reach out to Kasali for further questions, please feel free to do so. I have his details, contact details. I'm happy to connect him with you after the show. And again, entrepreneurs and founders, as you rightly saw, Kasali was here pitching his startup to all his investors. If you would like to share the space, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to connect you. Having said that, end of the week, I wish all of you a happy weekend. I'll be back next week with another set of speakers, another set of investors, and another set of founders. And till then, stay tuned, keep watching VCTV, and take care. Have a great weekend. Bye.